of Hotline 21, the Honorable Congressman of the 7th Congressional District, proud to be a representative for the people, Danny K. Davis. Well, it's been a lot of things in the last few days. It's been hot, some of the hottest days that we have experienced on this earth, I'm told. It's also been raining. Some parts of our city and some parts of our county have flooded, and people, of course, have been frustrated and upset and disappointed because the flood waters have damaged their homes, damaged their basements, damaged things that were stored, and in many instances, basements have been living quarters. And so we've just been having problems. Well, let me tell you, why don't I start with the rain and the flood and the damage. I attended 2 or 3 meetings where people are expressing a tremendous amount of desire that government come to their rescue. And of course, the main rescue agent in our country is something called FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. And it comes to the aid of communities and individuals when there are disasters. Of course, in order to trigger FEMA, the governor of a state or the governor of an area will ask the president to declare a state of emergency, a declaration of need, and then FEMA kicks in. Up to this point, to the best of my knowledge and information, the governor of Illinois has not necessarily asked the president to declare. And I try and say to people, especially those who ask me, that the damage is assessed and you know, experts kind of look at the damage. And of course, they convey this information, they give the information to the governor. Of course, I have urged the governor to declare a state of emergency for certain parts of my district, which is kind of west, certainly west of State Street, west of downtown, but in the western part of Cook County and northwest, where it seems as though those areas have been hardest hit. No such declaration, to my knowledge, yet has been made. But we have been getting information from FEMA, and we've been in contact with all of the agencies of government that would have something to do with this, and they've been recommending, go ahead and clean up anything that you can. Do the best. Check with your insurance if you have insurance. And of course, people say, yep, we've done that. And in many instances, the insurance companies are telling people, we don't cover that, or you don't have the kind of insurance that will cover that. But at the same time, we are continuing to talk to the agency of government, that is, to talk to our governor's office, to talk to our water reclamation district, talk to our city of Chicago, talk to our county government to try and get as much assistance as can be gotten while we continue to press hard for an emergency declaration which would trigger some more money. We know that people are frustrated. We know that people are leveraging all kind of charges, and we know that people do that. And they say, well, the government isn't doing anything. Nobody ain't doing nothing for us. They're only not doing this because it's on the west side. They're only not doing this because it's in the black community. They only are not all of the things that we are accustomed to hearing in terms of thoughts and ideas that people have. But I can assure the residents of the 7th District that I and my staff and some other elected officials are trying to convey as vociferously as we can to the governor and to the president that we need some additional help, that we need FEMA. People are as frustrated as they can be. So we will keep working on this effort until we get resolved. I know that the one meeting was called, and I attended it last night, by the Northwest Austin Council that was at 5730 West Division Street. And there were so many people present until the meeting had to be shifted from inside to outside because there were just too many people and they couldn't function inside. So the meeting did go outside. I understand there's going to be another meeting on Friday of next week coming up at 5800 West Division Street at the New Hope Inspirational Church. And that meeting is supposed to be at 6 o'clock on next Friday. And so, we will look forward to it, and we hope we will have some good news in terms of information. So we're hoping that the governor and the president and all of the other agencies are at work, and we'll just go right ahead and keep working and do the best that we can to try and make sure that relief is coming. In the meantime, I will mention there are a lot of other things that are going on. On Saturday, for example, there is a citywide climate smart agricultural equity exposition sponsored by the Urban Transformation Network at 1901 West Madison Street. That's in the parking lot at the United Center. And so that is going to be going on all day tomorrow. There's also a birthday celebration for Mrs. Rosie Triplett at the Austin Library. That's 5615 West Race Street, right down the street from where I live. There's going to be the Chicagoland basketball playground Legends Annual Luncheon at Plumbers Hall at 2 o'clock tomorrow, and I expect to attend that. I also think that Mayor Brandon Johnson is going to be there. Then on Monday, we're going to have a groundbreaking at 2059 West Lake Street at the corner of Damon and Lake. And it's a ceremony for the continuous building of affordable housing to rebuild some of the housing that has been demolished over in the Henry Horner development area. And so we're pleased to see the continuation of that. Then, of course, next Saturday, on the 15th, the Sonny Parker Youth Foundation is going to be at Malcolm X College with the Wendell Phillips Academy, Bright Leadership Institute, Dr. James Miller, Sankofa Safe Child Initiative, and they're going to be shooting for peace. And these are, well, Sonny Parker, some of you know, was an outstanding NBA basketball star, a legend in the Chicago Public Schools League and systems when he was a student. We're also going to be naming a street out in the Maywood community, a street dedication honorary for the former Recorder of Deeds and State Representative Eugene Moore, who was an outstanding politician. And so there are a lot of things continuing to go on. I want to say to the people who are disappointed relative to the flood, don't just be disappointed, but stay on the case and keep advocating your position. Keep pushing for the federal government to get involved. Of course, I hear people say, well, our elected people are supposed to be doing that for us. And I say, yeah, they are, and yes, we are, but all of us should be doing it together. And when you elect someone to represent you, that does not mean that they don't necessarily represent you in your position. But when you add your voice to their voices, and when you add your level of advocacy to their levels of advocacy, whoever is at another level in terms of decision making, they will hear all of us advocating together much quicker and much better than they will hear just a few of us. If you can get a lot of people doing the same thing, saying the same thing, meaning the same thing, expressing the same thing, the results will come. And so don't believe that once you have elected somebody, then you just go home and sit down and say it's going to happen, or this is going to happen. No, it takes a lot of advocacy. And it doesn't mean that always having the money available. And yes, that's what you elect people for, is to find the money. But I can tell you, if you were to ask the mayor of the city of Chicago what his biggest problem or issue is, he probably would tell you that finding a way to finance as effectively as he and his city council members can come up with a way to finance the operation of government, or a way to find the money that it takes to pay for the services that the people in the city of Chicago need, want, and should have, and at the same time not be gouged in terms of their taxes. And so the big issue often in government is finding out, how do you pay for it? How do you pay for it? And I know that there are citizens ready to charge whoever takes on the responsibility of doing that, of not doing what they need to do, and trying to get 50 people in the city council to agree. Not that you need 50, but sometimes trying to get 26 is not the easiest thing in the world. I sit on a body where there are 435 people, and in order to pass things, you need 218 of them to agree to do something. And so while it's easy to sit in the rocking chair and be the Monday morning quarterback, it's not always easy to get 218 individuals out of 435 to be in agreement, or to get 51 of the senators to be in agreement, and sometimes 60 before you can actually pass legislation that is needed to say, this is the way we're going to pay for this action. And yet we have a system of government, or a system that is used to make these great big public decisions, that sometimes it look like it ought to be easy. Sometimes it is easy, but there are other times when it's not as easy as it looks. And when the mayor or the governor or the president can't just wave a magic wand and all of a sudden they have the resources that they need. And yet we put confidence in them, and we put faith in them. And so I'm confident that we're going to get some help from the federal government with this flooding situation that we have experienced, but we just have to keep pushing it. We have to keep pushing it. We have to keep pushing it and pulling it and massaging it and coming up with different thoughts and ideas and approaches and ways to do it. And so, yeah, we've had our share of water, more than we would want to have. But if we believe in ourselves, and if we believe in our systems that we have put together, and we work those systems, I'm pretty confident that we will find solutions to many of the problems. I came in a little late because a lot of things were going on, and because I was trying to get to as many of them as I could. I'm going to be trying to get to other things into the evening, and then I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning, hopefully, if the good Lord bless and the river don't rise, and get started again with some of the many things that are on the docket and on the agenda for tomorrow. So have faith, and sometimes you get a little overwhelmed, and so I'm going to end my comments with some words that a woman named Helen Steiner Rice wrote. When sometimes it looks like you've just got more things you need to do than you can get around to doing, she says that often your task will be many and more than you think you can do. But start out today with faith in your heart and climb till your dreams come true. Often the roads will be rugged and the hills unsurmountable too. But faith is a mover of mountains. There's nothing that God cannot do. So start out today with faith in your heart and climb till your dreams come true. Go ahead and start working on that basement. Go ahead and start trying to get that water out. We're going to keep working on the governor. We're going to be working on the president. And we're going to keep trying to get you some FEMA money to help. And then we're going to try to get people who are experts to look at what's going on in our area so that when it rains, our basements will not necessarily flood. Have a good evening, have a good tomorrow, and we'll see you next week. Thank you, and have a good night.